Sandra lost her parents in a ghastly motor accident that changed her life forever. One moment, she had a loving family, and the next, she was left all alone in the world. After the funeral, she was sent to live with her Uncle David and Aunt Mary. Aunt Mary had never liked Sandra's mother when she was alive. She always found fault in everything Sandra's mother did, and now that Sandra was under her care, her hatred only grew stronger. "Why did they send this child to my house?" Aunt Mary often muttered under her breath, "as if I don't have enough problems already." From the moment Sandra arrived, Aunt Mary made it clear that she was not welcome. She gave Sandra a small mat to sleep on in the corner of the kitchen, far from the comfort she once knew. Each morning, Aunt Mary would hand Sandra a tray filled with bananas and send her out into the scorching sun. "Go and sell these," Aunt Mary barked one morning, shoving the tray into Sandra's small hands. "Don't come back unless you sell everything. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Auntie," Sandra replied quietly, her voice trembling. She walked the busy streets calling out to strangers, "Fresh bananas. Please buy some bananas." The sun burned her skin and her feet ached from walking all day. Some people stopped to buy, but most ignored her. By evening, Sandra returned home with many bananas still unsold. Aunt Mary's eyes narrowed when she saw the tray. "This is all you sold?" she shouted, grabbing a cane from the corner. "You useless child, do you think food will fall from the sky?" Sandra cried as the cane struck her legs and arms. The pain was sharp, but it wasn't new. This had become her daily reality. To make matters worse, Aunt Mary refused to give her dinner that night. "Go to bed," Aunt Mary snapped. "Maybe hunger will teach you how to sell properly." Sandra's stomach growled as she lay on her mat in the dark kitchen. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and she hugged her knees tightly. She missed her parents terribly. She missed her mother's gentle hands and her father's warm laughter. The only place Sandra found peace was at the graveyard. After hawking bananas, she would sneak to her mother's grave, sit beside it, and pour out her pain. "Mama, why did you leave me?" she whispered one evening, her voice breaking. "I'm so tired. Aunt Mary doesn't love me. I don't know what to do anymore." The graveyard was quiet, with only the soft rustling of leaves. But that night something felt different. A cool breeze swept over Sandra, making her shiver. She looked around, her heart pounding. "Mama?" she called softly. That was when she saw it, a small white feather lying on her mother's grave. It seemed to glow faintly under the moonlight. Sandra picked it up, holding it tightly in her hand. From that moment, strange things began to happen. People who never noticed Sandra on the streets suddenly stopped to buy her bananas. One woman even gave her extra money, telling her to buy herself food. Sandra returned home that evening with all the money she had made from selling bananas. She handed it over to Aunt Mary, her face tired but hopeful that maybe, just maybe tonight, she wouldn't have to sleep hungry. Aunt Mary counted the money slowly, her lips curling into a frown. "This is all you made? Useless child, do you think this is enough to feed this house?" Sandra looked down, her heart sinking. "But Auntie, I sold everything." "And so what?" Aunt Mary snapped. "Go and lie down. There is no food for you tonight." Sandra's stomach growled as she walked to her mat in the corner of the kitchen. She lay down, hugging her knees to her chest. Tears slipped down her cheeks as hunger gnawed at her insides. She closed her eyes tightly, wishing she could see her parents one more time. That night, she had a dream. In the dream, Sandra found herself standing in a beautiful, peaceful place. The air was cool, and the grass beneath her feet was soft. She looked around, confused, until she saw her mother standing under a large tree, smiling at her. "Mama," Sandra cried, running toward her. Her mother knelt down, opening her arms to hold Sandra tightly. "My sweet child," her mother said softly, stroking Sandra's hair. "I know how hard things have been for you." Sandra clung to her mother, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, it's too hard. Aunt Mary hates me. She beats me and doesn't give me food. I don't know what to do anymore." Her mother gently cupped Sandra's face, looking into her eyes. "You are stronger than you know, my child. But you are not alone. I have left you something to help you." Sandra frowned, confused. "What is it, Mama?" Her mother pointed to Sandra's hand. Sandra looked down and saw the glowing white feather she had picked from her mother's graveyard. "The feather," her mother said. "It is no ordinary feather. Whatever you ask for, the feather will give it to you. All you have to do is believe and ask." Sandra's eyes widened. "Really, Mama? Anything?" Her mother nodded. "Yes, my love, but remember, use it wisely. Do not let anger or greed guide your heart. You have a good soul, Sandra. Let that guide you." Sandra clutched the feather tightly, her heart filled with hope. "Thank you, Mama." Her mother smiled, touching Sandra's cheek one last time. "You are never alone, my child. I am always with you." Before Sandra could say anything else, her mother faded away, and the dream ended. Sandra woke up suddenly, sitting up on her mat. The kitchen was dark and the house was quiet. She looked down at the feather in her hand, feeling a strange warmth in her heart. "Thank you, Mama," she whispered softly, holding the feather close. The next morning, after Aunt Mary handed her the tray of bananas, Sandra set out to sell them as usual. The scorching sun beat down on her, and by midday, hunger clawed at her stomach. Remembering her dream, Sandra decided to try what her mother had said. She found an uncompleted building nearby and slipped inside. Sitting in a quiet corner, she held the feather tightly, closed her eyes and whispered, "Feather, please, I'm so hungry. Can I have something to eat?" A soft breeze swept through the room, even though there were no windows. When Sandra opened her eyes, she gasped. Before her was a plate of steaming rice and beans, with fried plantains and a large piece of chicken. Beside it was a cold bottle of water. Sandra couldn't believe her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. She ate quickly, savoring every bite, her hunger fading for the first time in days. After eating, she went back to hawking and, to her surprise, sold all the bananas quickly. People who usually ignored her stopped to buy, some even smiling at her and giving her extra money. Sandra returned home with the money and handed it to Aunt Mary. "You sold everything again?" Aunt Mary asked, her eyes narrowing. "Yes, Auntie," Sandra replied quietly. Aunt Mary muttered. "Go to the kitchen and stay there, no food for you tonight." But Sandra didn't mind. She wasn't hungry anymore. She knew she had the feather to help her, and she silently thanked her mother again. As the days went by, Sandra's new routine continued. She would go out to sell bananas, sneak into the uncompleted building when she was hungry, ask the feather for food, and sell everything quickly. Aunt Mary started to notice that Sandra didn't complain about hunger anymore. One evening, Aunt Mary looked at her suspiciously. "You don't cry for food these days. Are you eating outside? Are you stealing my money to buy food?" Sandra shook her head. "No, Auntie, I'm just not hungry." "Not hungry?" Aunt Mary's voice rose. "You daughter of a witch, don't worry, I will catch you one day. You think you can fool me?" Sandra said nothing, keeping her head down as Aunt Mary's sharp eyes bore into her. One evening, Aunt Mary packed her bags and announced she was traveling to the village for a funeral. "You useless child," she said to Sandra, pointing a finger at her. "Don't think I'll be gone forever. You had better behave yourself while I'm away. David, watch her closely, she's full of tricks." Sandra stood silently, her heart heavy. Even though Aunt Mary was leaving, she didn't feel any relief. Uncle David had always been quiet, but something about the way he looked at her sometimes made her uncomfortable. As soon as Aunt Mary left, Uncle David's demeanor changed. He called Sandra into the sitting room that night and offered her food, something that never happened before. "Eat, Sandra," he said, his voice unusually soft. "I know how wicked your aunt has been to you. I don't like the way she treats you." Sandra hesitated but sat down. She was hungry, but she didn't trust him. "Thank you, Uncle," she said quietly. Uncle David leaned back in his chair, watching her with a strange smile. "You're a good girl, Sandra. You don't deserve this life of suffering." Sandra looked down, not sure what to say. After a long silence, Uncle David spoke again. "You know," he began, his tone changing, "when you turn 18, I will marry you." Sandra's head shot up, her eyes wide with shock. "Uncle, what are you saying? I don't understand." Uncle David moved closer, lowering his voice. "I like you, Sandra. You're a beautiful girl. You don't need to struggle like this. If you marry me, I'll take care of you. You won't have to suffer anymore." Sandra felt her heart pounding in her chest. "But you're my uncle," she whispered, her voice trembling. "This is wrong." David's face darkened. "Don't be foolish, Sandra. Your parents are gone. Who else will take care of you? Your aunt doesn't care about you, but I do." He reached out to touch her shoulder, but Sandra jerked away. "Uncle, please stop," she said, tears filling her eyes. David's eyes narrowed, and he grabbed her wrist. "Stop acting like a child," he said harshly. "I'm doing this for your own good. You should be grateful." Sandra's heart raced with fear. She struggled to pull her hand away, but he was too strong. Panic filled her as David tried to pull her closer. In that moment, she remembered the feather. She reached into her pocket, clutching it tightly. With tears streaming down her face, she closed her eyes and whispered, "Feather, please help me. Protect me from Uncle David." Suddenly, a loud crack of thunder echoed through the room, even though the sky outside was clear. A powerful force struck Uncle David, sending him flying across the room. He hit the wall with a loud thud and collapsed to the ground, groaning in pain. Sandra didn't wait to see what happened next. She grabbed her slippers and ran out of the house, her heart pounding. She didn't know where to go, but she couldn't stay there. She ran to the nearest neighbor's house, an elderly woman named Mrs. Grace, who had always been kind to her. Sandra banged on the door, tears streaming down her face. Mrs. Grace opened the door, her eyes widening in shock when she saw Sandra's state. "Sandra, what happened? Why are you crying?" Sandra fell to her knees, sobbing. "Please, Mama Grace, help me. Uncle David tried to hurt me." Mrs. Grace's face hardened. She pulled Sandra inside and closed the door. "You're safe now, my child," she said firmly. "Nobody will touch you here." Sandra sat down, trembling. She clutched the feather in her hand, silently thanking it for saving her. Mrs. Grace handed her a cup of water and sat beside her. "Tell me everything, Sandra," she said gently. Through her tears, Sandra explained what had happened, from Aunt Mary's cruelty to Uncle David's actions that night. Mrs. Grace listened intently, her face growing angrier with every word. "That man is a disgrace," Mrs. Grace said when Sandra finished. "Don't worry, my child. You will not go back to that house. I will protect you." Sandra felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in a long while. She looked up at Mrs. Grace, her voice trembling. "Thank you, Mama Grace. I don't know what I would have done without you." Mrs. Grace hugged her tightly. "You are not alone, Sandra. You are a brave girl, and you deserve better than this." Sandra spent the night in Mrs. Grace's house, but her mind was restless. She couldn't stop thinking about what might happen next. Would Aunt Mary come back and force her to return? Would Uncle David try to harm her again? As she lay on the small bed Mrs. Grace had prepared for her, Sandra held the feather tightly in her hand. "Mama," she whispered, tears slipping down her face, "please keep watching over me. I don't know what to do, but I trust you." The next morning, just as the sun was rising, a loud knock echoed on Mrs. Grace's wooden door. Sandra, who had barely slept through the night, sat up quickly, fear gripping her heart. She could already guess who it was. Mrs. Grace walked to the door, her face calm but determined. She opened it to find David standing there, his tall frame looming over her. His eyes were cold, his lips twisted in a mocking smile. "I've come for Sandra," he said bluntly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "She belongs in my house, not here with you." Mrs. Grace didn't flinch. She crossed her arms and stood firm. "Sandra is not going anywhere, David. Not until your wife returns. I want to hear what Mary has to say about this." David's expression darkened. "I don't need Mary's permission to take her back. I am the man of the house, and Sandra is my responsibility." Mrs. Grace's eyes narrowed. "Responsibility? Is that what you call trying to harm a little girl? You think I don't know what you tried to do to her last night?" David's face twitched, but he quickly recovered, letting out a short laugh. "What are you talking about, old woman? You have no proof. Don't go around accusing people of things you don't understand." Mrs. Grace stepped closer, her voice rising. "I don't need proof to see what kind of man you are. You are a disgrace, David. A man who preys on a helpless child is no man at all. You are a monster." Sandra peeked out from behind the doorframe, her heart pounding. She had never seen anyone stand up to Uncle David like this. David's face twisted with anger. "Watch your mouth, Grace. You think you can insult me and get away with it?" Mrs. Grace pointed a finger at him, her voice filled with fury. "Get away with what? You think you own this city? Let me tell you something, David. If you ever lay a hand on that child again, I will take you to the police myself. I will make sure everyone knows what you tried to do." David laughed, leaning closer to her. The police? You think the police will listen to a poor, dirty woman like you? Let me remind you, Grace, I know all the top officers in this city. They listen to me, not to people like you. Go ahead, try it. You will end up in a cell while I walk free." Mrs. Grace didn't back down. "You may know the police, but you don't know me, David. I am not afraid of you. And I promise you, if you come near Sandra again, I will fight you with everything I have. You think you're untouchable? Let's see how long your lies protect you." David laughed loudly, his voice echoing down the quiet street. "You're brave, I'll give you that. But bravery won't save you, Grace. Remember my words. Don't cross me, or you will regret it." With that, he turned and stormed off, leaving a trail of dust behind him. Mrs. Grace watched him go, her jaw clenched. She knew David was dangerous, but she wasn't about to let him scare her. Sandra stepped out slowly, her eyes filled with tears. "Mama Grace, what if he comes back? What if he hurts you?" Mrs. Grace turned to her, her expression softening. She knelt down and took Sandra's hands in hers. "Don't you worry, my child. You are safe here. That man can bark all he wants, but he won't lay a finger on you. Not while I'm here." Sandra nodded, but her heart was still heavy. She clutched the feather in her pocket, silently praying to her mother for strength. Mary returned home after her trip to the village, carrying the weight of the day's events in her tired eyes. She had spent the time in the village, dealing with family matters, and was hoping for some peace. But when she walked through the door, she found David sitting there looking troubled. "David, where is Sandra?" she asked, her voice calm, but there was an edge to it. She had expected to find Sandra at home, waiting to do her chores. David looked up slowly, his face full of false concern. "She hasn't sold any bananas since you left, Mary. I tried talking to her, but she ran off to Grace's house. The girl is stubborn, she's causing trouble." Mary's anger flared as she clenched her fists. "What nonsense is this? I told you she was a lazy troublemaker. She is just like her mother. I can't believe we have to deal with her now, after everything we've already lost." Without wasting another second, Mary turned and marched straight out of the house, her mind set on finding Sandra. She knew where she had gone, Grace's house, and she wasn't about to let that old woman keep her niece from her. When Mary arrived at Grace's house, she didn't even knock. She barged in, her eyes wild with rage. "You old witch," she yelled, pointing an accusing finger at Grace. "You better let that foolish girl out now." Grace looked up from her cooking, her face calm despite the storm that Mary had brought. "Mary, what is this now? Why are you shouting?" "Don't play innocent with me," Mary fumed. "Sandra has been staying here, hasn't she? I know she's here hiding from me. I know what you are up to." Grace stood up slowly, trying to remain calm. "Mary, calm down. Sandra is not your prisoner. She is safe here with me, until I see fit for her to go back with you." "You fool! What do you think you're doing?" Mary shouted. "I'm her aunt, and she belongs with me. She's a lie and a troublemaker. I will deal with her my way." Grace shook her head, her voice calm but stern. "Mary, you are wrong. Sandra is just a child, and you treat her like she's an enemy. You've hurt her long enough. She has been through so much already, and she deserves better than this." Mary's face twisted with rage. "You want to defend her? Fine. But I will take her back with me, and I'll teach her a lesson she will never forget." Grace stepped closer, her voice low but filled with strength. "You will do no such thing, Mary. I have seen enough. You have no right to treat that girl this way. You and your husband have already stolen everything her parents left behind. Now you want to steal her happiness too." Mary laughed bitterly. "You think you can stop me? You think you can fight me? I know people, Grace. I know the police, and you are just a poor old woman. You don't stand a chance." Grace's hands trembled with anger, but she refused to back down. "I don't need to fight you, Mary. God sees everything, and justice will come for you one day. You cannot keep hurting Sandra." Mary, anger boiled, her eyes cold. "We will see about that. I will make sure you regret this, Grace. Mark my words, you will pay for trying to take what's mine." With that, Mary turned and stormed away, her feet pounding the earth beneath her as she left Grace's house. Grace stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her retreating figure before turning back inside. Sandra, who had been listening from behind the curtain, felt a lump form in her throat. She didn't understand why her aunt hated her so much. She had tried to be good, but it was never enough. All she had wanted was love and care, but instead she had been given pain and suffering. Grace closed the door gently behind her and turned to Sandra, who was sitting on the chair, with a sad face. "Sandra, don't worry," Grace said softly, sitting next to her. "Your aunt is wrong, and she cannot hurt you here. You are safe with me." Sandra nodded, though her heart was still heavy. "I don't want to go back, Mama Grace. I don't want to live with Aunt Mary anymore." Grace hugged Sandra tightly, stroking her hair. "You don't have to go back now, Sandra. You are safe here, and I will protect you. But one day, things will change. You will be happy again, I promise." Sandra felt comforted by Grace's words, but the fear still lingered deep within her. What would Mary do now? Would she come back? And what about David? But as she clung to Grace, she knew one thing for certain. She would never go back to that house, not as long as she had Grace by her side. The sun rose the next morning, casting its pale light over the dusty streets. Sandra, her heart heavy with despair, made her way to her mother's grave. She carried with her a bundle of sorrow that seemed too big for a child her age. She knelt on the bare earth, her small shoulders trembling, as tears rolled down her cheeks. "Mother," she whispered, her voice cracking with pain, "I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of living like this. Every day it's pain and suffering. I just want to be with you and Dad. Why did you leave me in this wicked world?" Her cries filled the quiet graveyard, her sobs shaking her frail body. As the wind rustled the leaves of a nearby tree, she suddenly felt a warmth settle around her. The soft, gentle voice of her mother came to her like a cool breeze on a scorching day. "Sandra, my child," her mother's voice said, soothing and calm, "don't give up. You are stronger than you know. You have a purpose, and your time will come. But right now you must be brave. Go home, my daughter. Grace is in danger. Hurry, Sandra." Sandra's eyes flew open, her heart pounding wildly. "Grace, in danger?" she muttered, panic rising in her chest. She jumped to her feet and began to run, her bare feet slapping against the rough ground. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her, not stopping even when her lungs burned for air. Her heart raced and tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Please, Mama Grace, please be safe." When she reached Grace's house, her heart sank. Standing at the door, waiting for her, was Mary. Her hands were on her hips, her face twisted into a smug grin. "Where is Mama Grace?" Sandra asked, her voice trembling. Mary smirked, taking a step closer to her. "Grace is where she belongs, in the police station. She's been arrested for kidnapping. Imagine that. The old witch thought she could take you from me, but I showed her." Sandra gasped, her knees growing weak. No, it's not true. Grace didn't kidnap me. She was only helping me." Mary's expression turned cold, and her voice dropped into a menacing tone. "Enough of your nonsense, you ungrateful brat. Grace is gone, and you're coming back home with me. You think you've suffered before? That was nothing. From now on, your real suffering begins." Sandra's tears flowed freely as she shook her head, stepping back. "Please, Aunt Mary, don't do this. Let me go to Grace. She didn't do anything wrong." Mary grabbed Sandra by the arm, her grip tight and unforgiving. "You listen to me, you little witch. From today you will hawk bananas 3 times a day, morning, afternoon and night. You will eat only when I tell you to. You will see what it means to cross me," Sandra cried, struggling to free herself, but Mary's grip was like iron. "Please, I will do anything, but don't make me do this." Mary dragged her down the road, ignoring her cries. The townspeople watched, murmuring among themselves, but no one dared to intervene. They all knew Mary's temper and feared her sharp tongue. Back at the house, Mary threw Sandra into the small room where she slept on the cold, hard floor. "Get ready to start hawking, and don't even think about running away again. You will regret it if you do." Sandra curled up on the floor, her tears soaking the dusty ground. She clutched the feather tightly, her only source of comfort in the cruel world she was trapped in. As the night crept in, Sandra whispered to the feather, "Please help Mama Grace. She doesn't deserve this. And help me too. I don't know how much more I can take." She cried herself to sleep, dreaming of a life where she was free from pain and suffering. The next morning, the sun climbed slowly into the sky, its rays beating down on the dusty streets. Sandra, with her tray of bananas balanced carefully on her head, set off to hawk. Her feet moved wearily, but she forced a small smile for her customers. By midday, she had sold everything, her tray empty. As she walked back home, her stomach growled loudly, reminding her that she hadn't eaten. She thought of Aunt Mary's cruel words, "You will eat only when I tell you to." She knew there was no food waiting for her at home. Sandra decided to go to the uncompleted building where she had found solace before. The walls were cracked and weeds had begun to take over the structure, but it was quiet and hidden. Sitting on the dusty floor, she pulled out the feather from her pocket. With trembling hands, she whispered, "Please, I'm so hungry. I just want food to eat." The feather glowed faintly, and within moments, a steaming plate of fried rice and chicken appeared before her. The aroma filled the air, making her mouth water. Sandra clasped her hands together, whispering, "Thank you, Mother." She ate quickly, savoring every bite, but just as she stood up to leave, a shadow fell over her. Turning around, she saw a man standing in the doorway. His eyes were wild, and his face twisted into a menacing grin. "Hey, little girl," he said, stepping closer. "What are you doing here all alone?" Sandra's heart pounded in her chest as she stepped back. I was just leaving," she stammered, trying to move past him, but the man grabbed her arm roughly, his grip like iron. "Not so fast, you're not going anywhere." Sandra struggled, tears streaming down her face. "Let me go. Please." The man laughed darkly. "You're such a pretty girl. Don't worry, I'll take good care of you." Fear consumed Sandra, but then she remembered the feather in her hand. She gripped it tightly and cried out, "Feather, help me! Stop him!" Suddenly the man let out a scream, clutching his eyes. I can't see, he yelled, stumbling back. He fell to the ground, writhing in pain, completely blinded. Sandra didn't wait to see what happened next. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her, her heart racing in her chest. She didn't stop until she reached home. When she walked into the house, her Uncle David was sitting in the corner. His eyes narrowed when he saw her. "Sandra," he said sharply, "where have you been?" Sandra hesitated, still shaking from the encounter. "Uncle, a bad man tried to hurt me in an uncompleted building. He grabbed me, but—" David stood up abruptly, his face dark with anger. "What were you doing in an uncompleted building? Your aunt sent you to sell bananas, not to meet boys." Sandra's eyes widened. "Uncle, no, I wasn't meeting anyone. David cut her off, his voice rising. "Don't lie to me, you little witch. As small as you are, you already have a boyfriend, eh? Since you want to act like a woman, let me teach you a lesson." Before Sandra could react, David grabbed her roughly by the arm and dragged her to his room. "Uncle, no, please no," she cried, struggling to free herself. David frowned, his grip tightening. "You think you're smart, don't you? Let's see how smart you really are." Sandra's fear turned to desperation. She clutched the feather in her hand and cried out, "Feather, save me. Don't let him hurt me." In an instant, David let out a loud scream, his hands flying to his eyes. "I can't see. What's happening? I can't see," he yelled, stumbling around the room. Sandra pulled away, her heart pounding. She didn't wait to see what would happen next. She ran out of the house, her feet carrying her to the only place where she felt safe, her mother's grave. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Mother, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of running, tired of being hurt. Why can't I just be with you and Dad?" The wind blew softly, and her mother's comforting voice filled the air. "Sandra, my child, you are not alone. Help is on the way. Go home and wait. Be strong, my daughter." Sandra wiped her tears, her heart heavy but comforted by her mother's words. Sandra walked home, her heart heavy with fear and sadness. The path seemed longer than usual, and her tears blurred her vision. As she walked, a woman approached her, standing by the side of the dusty road. The woman, dressed in a simple but neat outfit, had kind eyes that softened as she saw the distressed young girl. "My child," the woman said gently, "why are you crying? What is wrong?" Sandra hesitated, unsure if she should share her troubles, but something about the woman felt safe, like a mother's embrace. She began to speak, her voice trembling. "Auntie, my life is hard. My parents are gone, and my aunt and uncle are wicked. They beat me, starved me, and my uncle, he tried to hurt me in a very bad way. I ran away, but I don't know what to do anymore." The woman's face hardened with anger. "What?" she exclaimed. "Your aunt and uncle are treating you like this? This is terrible. What kind of people would do this to a child?" Sandra sniffed, looking down. "I don't know, Auntie. I'm just tired. I don't want to go back there." The woman placed a hand on Sandra's shoulder. "Listen to me. My name is Clara. I am a lawyer, and I will not allow this wickedness to continue. You deserve to live in peace, not fear. Come with me. I will make sure those people face justice." Sandra hesitated but finally nodded. Together they walked to the house. Clara asked Sandra more questions along the way, gathering details of her suffering. Her determination to help Sandra grew stronger with each word. Meanwhile, Mary had just returned home and found David sitting in the living room, his head in his hands, muttering angrily. "What's wrong with you now?" Mary asked, frowning. David looked up, his face contorted with fake pain. "It's that witch, Sandra. She attacked me. I told you she's not normal, but you didn't listen. Now she's made me blind." Mary's eyes widened. "Blind? What are you talking about? How can Sandra make you blind? She's just a child." David groaned dramatically. "I don't know how she did it, but she's a witch. Ever since she came into this house, bad things have been happening to me." Mary was silent for a moment, her mind racing. Then she shook her head. "No, David, I don't believe you. You lied to me before, saying Sandra ran away. Now this. What really happened? Did you try to do something to that girl?" David became angry. "How dare you accuse me? Are you not the one who has been calling her a witch? Or are you suddenly her mother now?" Mary stepped closer, her voice rising. "Don't twist my words, David. You think I don't know you? I may have treated Sandra harshly, but I would never harm her like that. Did you try to sleep with her in my house? Tell me the truth." David stood up, his temper boiling over. "Don't turn this on me, and let me remind you, this house isn't even ours. It belongs to Sandra's parents. You've been wicked to her, taking everything her parents left for her. No wonder the doctor said you have no womb. Your wickedness is catching up with you." Mary gasped, her hand flying to her chest. "How dare you bring that up? You've been living off this girl's inheritance like a king, and now you want to blame me. You're the useless one here?" The argument escalated, with both of them hurling insults. "You are cursed," David spat. "And you are a disgrace," Mary retorted. Their shouting match was interrupted by the sound of a car pulling up outside. Clara walked in with Sandra behind her, followed by 2 police officers. "What is going on here?" Mary demanded, her voice sharp. Clara stepped forward, her tone calm but authoritative. "Mary and David, your time is up. I have reported you to the authorities for child abuse, theft, and attempted assault. Your treatment of Sandra is unforgivable, and justice will be served." Mary's eyes widened in shock. "Who do you think you are? You can't do this." David stood up, pointing a finger. "This is our house. You don't know who you're messing with. I have connections with the police." One of the officers stepped forward. "Not anymore. You're both under arrest for your crimes. Come quietly or we will use force." Mary tried to protest, but the officers handcuffed her and David. "You will regret this," Mary screamed as they were led out of the house. In the weeks that followed, Clara worked tirelessly to ensure that Mary and David faced justice. The court found them guilty on multiple charges, and they were both sentenced to prison. Sandra's family property was restored to her, and Clara arranged for Grace to move into the house with her. With Grace's love and care, Sandra began to heal. She returned to school, excelling in her studies despite her troubled past. Clara became a mentor and mother figure, ensuring Sandra had everything she needed. Years later, Sandra stood in front of a crowd on her graduation day, her heart filled with gratitude. She thought of her parents and whispered a silent prayer, thanking them for watching over her. On her wedding day, as she held Grace's hand, she smiled. The past no longer weighed her down. Sandra's story became one of triumph, a testament to resilience, love, and the power of justice. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.